My source came from Professor Carroll Quigley. Who is he? He is a Harvard professor and at the same time a Freemason himself. But of course he retracted at the end when he saw the anomalies so obnoxious in his system. He was introduced by Bill Clinton as the person responsible for shaping his future. Why? Because if not through Carroll Quigley, the Rothschild family, the Rockefeller family, the Warburg family would have not known this man. From nowhere, he was just an ordinary politician. Because of this introduction, he was nominated as the candidate for presidency. And before he knew it, he was the President of the United States. Let's start with how this financial collapse really works. Who is the manipulator? Why are they doing this? Well, let's first go to the responsible people in making the economy of the whole world collapse. And we call this the Round Table Group, which are of course composed of the high-ranking Freemasons and Illuminati. When we speak of the Illuminati group, we really mean, number one, those Freemasons who have this objective: abolition of private property, removal of families. So they have to do everything to destroy family life. Removal of national boundary. Removal also of religion. So that at the end, what do we have? A global society under one religion, worshiping Lucifer. So Illuminati, Freemasonry are practically nothing else but occultism. That means a worship of Lucifer. No wonder the members there are so intelligent, and yet how they were able to be trapped by a higher intelligence is a clear proof that when there is pride, when there is immorality, Satan can easily trap us. And who are the members of the Freemasons? They're the most intelligent. They're the most gifted. They're the richest, the most powerful. So among these, we have kings, we have queens, we have princes, we have scientists. Why did they fall under Satan when they were before very intelligent people? It is because pride. Pride is the entry point of Satan. When we think we own the whole world, when we think we know better than the others, when we think with our own strength we can do everything, then Satan is very powerful. As the former prefect of the Congregation of the Doctrine of Faith, Joseph Cardinal Ratzinger, said, the devil is so powerful these days because man gives him the space to operate in himself through self-will. So if we do our own will and we don't follow God's will, then the alternative power is Lucifer. So these are the Round Table people. They're just instruments. Hitler, as many exorcists would say, is just an instrument of Lucifer. So I would say these powerful people are just instruments of Lucifer. All right. This group consists of the high-ranking Freemasons and Illuminati. It is a Latin word in plural, which means the enlightened people. So the age of enlightenment, you know about that. It is the age of Lucifer. And all the philosophers who came around, like Kant, Immanuel Kant, These are all high-ranking Freemasons. All right. What is their aim? Their aim is to create a world central bank, which is a system of financial control under the private hands, able to dominate the political system of each country and the economy of the whole world as a whole. Now, these praises are now coming from the book of Professor Carroll Quigley entitled Tragedy and Hope. This system was to be controlled in a feudalistic manner by the central banks of the world, acting in concert by secret agreements arrived at in frequent private meetings and conferences. This is almost a perfect description of the secret international meetings of the Bilderbergers, of secret agreements arrived at in frequent private meetings. They achieved their goal of global control. How? By creating chaos and wars. So you might think that all these big wars in the world were spontaneous. They were because people were angry with one another and they could not control their anger, and so they blurted out by killing one another. In a micro level, it might just be on your neighbor. In a macro level, it might be nations versus nations, and then continent versus continents, and then philosophical parties with another philosophical parties, say communism and capitalism. But the truth about the matter is that it is not these people who cause it. The ones who cause this war, who paid for the antagonists, who paid for the protagonists, people who are paid to fight each other in a large scale, are the Freemasons. To create war, the Freemasons finance secretly both the antagonists and the protagonists of countries, regions, and even the world. So, to create the French Revolution, they have to finance both the antagonists. Who are they? Voltaire, Robespierre, etc., as well as the protagonists. These are the French nationalists. Then, as we all know from the history of Freemasonry, and these are all books that you can find in many libraries. You go to Washington, the largest library in the whole world, and then you also go to London, another big library, and they're all there. World War I and the other world wars are plotted by the successor of Adam Weishaupt, the founder of the Freemasonry. And who are these? We have Mazzini, an Italian, who succeeded Adam Weishaupt, and we have the American counterpart who succeeded, or who became the vicar, who is like the vice supreme pontiff. Now, we have to understand that there is parallelism between Catholicism and the devil. Because the devil, in order to attract Catholics, the devil, in order to sound credible, would seem or would make a parallel. If the Catholics will have their Mass, he would also have Black Mass. If the Catholics has baptism, he would also have baptism, but it is satanic baptism. If the Catholics have hierarchy, then satanic groups, the Freemasons, they also have hierarchy. The Catholics, they call the Vicar of Christ Supreme Pontiff. So, the devil also calls their head as Supreme Pontiff. So, Mazzini plotted World War I, World War II, and World War III. And these are all open books that you can find everywhere. And they are valid and they are great documents. So World War I, they have to finance the antagonists, the Germans, and the protagonists, the British Allied Forces. World War II, they have to finance the antagonists, the Nazis, with Hitler, and the protagonists, British, and of course, they drag along the United States, then the communists, under Lenin, Stalin, NATO, Allied forces. Then in the Cold War, they have to finance the antagonists, the Soviet Union, as well as the protagonists, the British, US, and NATO. NATO is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. After the post-Cold War, they also have the group financing the antagonist terrorists, Bin Laden, Al-Qaeda, Hamas, Hezbollah, Muslim fundamentalists, Iran. The latest Newsweek or Time magazine, dated 28th of January, 2009. You might want to know the page. Page 8. The Congress is investigating several U.S. banks. They are financing the making of bombs of Iran. So you could imagine, the citizens of America are giving money to Iran to produce their bombs so that Iran will bomb the United States. Now, you might say, this is crazy, unless there is somebody who is engineering these things. Well, we know. It's the Freemasons. They would fit one country to the other, so that when there is chaos, they confiscate all the property. After every war, they get richer. Why? Who borrows the money in order to wage war? Who borrows the money so that you can produce more tanks, more warship, more airplanes, more jet fighters, more bombers? The Freemasons. But there are collaterals like natural resources. So the oil becomes theirs. So if they are financing now Iran, they will confiscate the oil reserves of Iran. So you might say, why are they creating war? Well, in places where there are rich natural resources, they will create war. Why are they creating war with Iraq? Because Iraq is one of the richest in oil producing. Why are they creating war with Afghanistan? It's the same. Oil, natural gas. What else? You have uranium. You have gold. Why are they creating war now with Iran? Because, again, of oil, natural gas. All right. Why fit Russia and the United States? Well, Russia is the source of natural gas. So you see? So practically, who owns all these natural resources? At the end, when there is war, it will be this elite group. It will be this cabal, this round table, as we say. So we are waiting for World War III. And this is supposed to be the Muslims versus the Jews. So everybody now is watching the Israelites to attack Iran. And of course, you know why the Israelites. Who is funding Israelites? Well, one of the three cabals of the most powerful families that control the whole world is Felix Paul Warburg. And what about the British? We have, of course, Rothschild. What about the American? We have, of course, Rockefeller. Now, they intermarried with one another. So you have Morgan, you have families like Lehman. So, what is going on? Well, apparently,